Welcome to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larosiliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur Podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur Podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. This is your host, Steve Larosiliere. Today's guest is Adam from Pompous Fox Wood Co. How you doing, Adam?
Good. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Hey, why don't you tell everybody your story? How'd you get started?
Yeah, so it really started back in 2017. That's when I bought my first house, and I was pretty sick of dealing with, the typical fast furniture world out there, like the IKEAs, where the furniture just lasts maybe a year or two before it needs to be replaced. So I wanted some like really good heavy duty furniture that's going to last a long time, that's going to look nice. But after just buying a house, I couldn't afford it myself. So I decided I would build it myself. I had some skills after growing up with my grandfather, who was a carpenter, and working alongside him for years. So bought myself a few tools, and out of my garage, I just started building a few things, and started showing what I was doing with friends on my personal Instagram account, and friends and family started saying that was really cool, and started asking me to make them some smaller things. Like a typical woodworker, I kind of started with making small things like charcuterie boards and shelving and small things like that. And as my skills progressed, I wanted to get more and more into furniture, and that's when I decided in, I think it was 2019, so about a couple years later, to actually turn that little side hobby into my actual a side business. So I was doing it on the side, working as an engineer full time, and then doing this on evenings and weekends. And it was probably about the summer of 2020, so mid pandemic, where I basically told myself it's time to take this a little bit more seriously. Um, and if you want to do this more, you got to get rid of all the charcuterie stuff and focus on what you're actually passionate about, which was the furniture design and furniture making. Um,
Mm-hmm.
More on like the modern, contemporary type side of things. So 2020 is when I did that, and things just kind of took off like crazy. COVID honestly helped me a little bit there. There were so many people stuck at home, couldn't travel anywhere, looking around their house, saying they need to update these things, and had a little bit extra money to spend. So that helped boost my side business quite a lot, to the point where I was working 40 to 50 hours a week on top of my regular day job. And then fast forward to 2022, and that's when I leased my first shop where I'm at right now, and was able to quit my engineering career. And it's 2 years later, and I've been doing this full time now, building high end luxury furniture.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think I had you on because I don't know. I think I saw when you went full time on it on the business, and then I looked in our DMs and I was like, "Oh, I reached out. We were talking about getting like potentially getting mentored
Yeah.
um and in the program." And so I was like, "That's really really cool." Talk to me about like, because this is a story that your story is something that I really like to share a lot, right? It's you have a job, you have this thing on the side, and and you somehow made this thing on the side, you made it full time. So could you just literally break down how did you do it? Because your story is going to inspire a lot of people to do the same. Could you
Sure.
walk through that step, please?
Yeah, so initially I focused on creating a name and a brand for myself. So I worked with a couple local ladies here who helped me to create a brand, helped me to showcase that brand and really focus in on it on Instagram. Instagram is really where I pushed a lot of that kind of free marketing when I was doing it on the side. Um, and really at that time, while I was still working full time, every dollar that the business made went directly back into the business. So I was continuously focusing on, a little bit of marketing, but a lot of it was on bringing upgrades into my actual shop. So a lot was invested into machinery and tools early on while I was still making that regular salary. I didn't have to worry about paying myself or a lease or anything like that. Um, when I did really hammer down on the furniture side of things, um, I realized that the direction I wanted to go was really high end furniture, luxury furniture. Um, and that market really comes from the interior design world. Generally, the people who are willing to spend the money on the very high end pieces are going to be
Mm-hmm.
going through interior designers. So that's when I started targeting interior designers, um, and really creating a group of clientele that I know that if I could continuously prove to them the craftsmanship that I was able to deliver, that they would continue to come back. So focusing on the interior designers as a client that would keep coming back to me instead of focusing on uh, your typical
Individuals.
an individual, then I would have a client base that would continue to come back to me. And it just got to a point where, I was, like I said earlier, working 40 to 50 hours a week on top of my 40-hour plus week day job, just trying to keep up with orders. And I was booking, 6+ months out. And so it was probably 2021 where my wife and I just sat down and discussed and said, hey, if I'm passionate about this and I don't want to keep working 80 hours a week, what do we think about going full time? And she basically said, like, if you want to do it, I'm going to support you, which was the best thing she could have said.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, if I'm going full time, I got to stop working out of this shop in the backyard. I need a bigger space because I was working out of a 320 square foot shed at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And if to go full time, I needed something bigger. So it was really took about 6 months to find the space that I needed, that was available, that was within my budget, etc. And by the time I found that space, it was, when was it? April 2022 is when I
Mm-hmm.
took that space over. I spent about 2 months renovating it before I actually quit my job. And once I was done renovating and moved everything in, I,
Mm-hmm.
I quit the engineering job and jumped right in full time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Did you financially, did you have the revenue there from the wood company, or did you live off of savings in order to get it back, make your salary back?
So yeah, I guess when I first started, when I knew I was planning on going full time, I stopped investing or reinvesting as much back into the company, and I started saving everything that I was making with the
Saving your salary and saving all of the money. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And I did a whole lot of budgeting up front. Like we calculated all of the fixed costs that I was going to encounter,
Yeah.
and from there just kind of calculated backwards. How much does the business need to make every month for me to be able to pay myself a living wage, but also pay all my fixed costs at the same time. But then I also included some buffer for business savings so that I could continue to reinvest in there. So, yeah, I had a fair amount saved up before going into it, um, And also that first summer, there was a local program here in Ontario for new businesses that was successful in being a part of. And through that company, I was able to, or through that program,
Program.
it kind of it taught you all the ins and outs of running a business and so on. And at the end, it gave you a grant, and I was also able to apply for some additional government funding through that as well. So yeah, between the savings that I had saved up, the grant that I got, and then some additional government funding, that pretty much helped me launch the business over the first 6 months or so.
Congrats, man. I'm so
Yeah,
happy for you. That's so
thanks.
good. That's
Yeah,
so good. That's so good. Yeah, it's like you have to take advantage of everything that's in front of you and having the right support. I mean, because you could do the savings, and then you could have the government thing, and then you could have the shop, which could give you the confidence to build bigger, more expensive stuff. But then there's like a small part of it where you just have to say, screw it, and then I'm doing it, right? Is that am I right with that?
absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely one of those decisions that was probably one of the biggest and scariest decisions that I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Leaving a very comfortable engineering career and kind of jumping into the unknown was a huge decision.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we again, the finances was kind of the biggest things that we were scared about, and we knew going into it, like worst case, I was only locked in for a 1 year lease on the shop, and if the business didn't go through in that year, an
Mm-hmm.
engineering career could always come back a year later. But thankfully, through hard work and a lot of determination, the business has been flourishing and continuing to grow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I saw online that you were hiring somebody. Did you end up hiring somebody?
Yeah, this spring I hired my first full time employee. So he's
Amazing.
a junior woodworker. So and he's been learning really fast, which is awesome. Uh, Basically, just got to the point where I was working way too many hours myself and just falling behind on a lot of things, and I couldn't keep growing the business without bringing in an additional support. So it's great having that full time employee. Before then, I also had high school co ops that were coming in. So
Mm-hmm.
um, having some young people that were interested in the woodworking world that were able to help out around the shop with some of the more simple tasks, that was also great to have over the last year.
Yeah. 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 It's good to have help. You realize that, right? Like
Yeah,
you need, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that had you, how, had you known that, uh, you would have potentially hired people sooner, right?
yeah, yeah. I think I probably would have hired a little bit sooner. Uh, like again, besides the decision to go full time for myself, the next biggest decision from a business standpoint was the decision to hire someone. Um, Mostly just that fear of being financially responsible for someone else now.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, big responsibility to have as a business owner. But yeah, getting over that fear. I worked with a business coach locally to help me, make that right decision and really make me realize that it was the best decision for the business and for myself in the long run. Yeah, I think I probably would have hired it at least 6 months earlier. If
That's cool. That's cool. So tell me, what are you working on these days?
So the main things we're working on is just essentially custom furniture for the interior design industry. We've got such a vast array of pieces that come through the shop. That's the nice thing about living in the custom world, is that every single piece that we do is different. So I'm just thinking, like, of the pieces that we have going on in the shop right now. We've got a small banquette table. We just finished up some bar stools. We're doing some side tables for a living room. We've got a couple large dining tables and bar tables coming up within the next month or two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really every month looks completely different for us, which is what keeps everything interesting.
That's cool. How did you balance I saw that you have, I mean, there's a couple of questions. One is, at what point did you invest in the CNC?
So the CNC happened. When did that happen? Probably only about 6 months into going full time is when I just.
What kind did you get?
It's an Avid CNC, so it's
Yeah.
kind of middle of the line, but it's 5 feet by 8 feet, so I was able to fit at least a full sheet of plywood on there if needed. Although we don't really do much plywood work, everything we do is for the most part solid wood. But I wanted to be able to fit like the majority of tabletops that we do on there because we do end up with some pretty funky shaped pieces uh,
Hmm.
from the custom world these days. Um, I think that decision just came from the fact that it's almost like having an additional employee that you just pay for once and then they can
Yeah.
continue working for you. So I did try to do a few things that would basically put the CNC in almost like a mass production mode. That didn't quite work out for me, but I'm finding with a lot of the work that we do now, that CNC is running at least 3 out of the 5 days during the week, anyways.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then, um, how did you balance the custom work versus having your own signature, and what you getting your own signature line? So like, how did you, well, I guess the question is, why did you launch a signature line if you were doing so much more custom work?
right. So the signature line came again as I was still fairly new into the full time world, just
Mm-hmm.
trying to generate more sales. At that time, I still was pursuing a little bit of the individuals and not
Mm-hmm.
100% interior designers like I am now.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to offer something that would still give clients that semi custom approach where we have some set designs in place. Everything's made out of solid wood, so it's the same construction as we would build a custom piece. And the client is able to pick their dimensions of that design. In all honesty, that line never really took off very well.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we really have found our niche in the custom world.
Yeah.
Um, and the original thought was that if it does take off, that would be my main reason to hire. And I would have one or two people, continuously working on the signature line while my focus would continue to be on the custom work.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. What's this year looking like for you?
So this year, we are continuing to just push forward with a ton of custom work. I know with the economy right now, the interior design world has slowed down a little bit. So we were a little bit slow in the spring, but things have skyrocketed right back up here in Canada, which is really nice. So at this point, we're booking out into the fall with custom orders right now. Um, Continuing to do a lot of training with my new employee. Like I said, he was just a junior woodworker, so every week he's kind of learning new skills as new projects come in, and
That's cool.
which is really fun. Uh, we're investing some more back into the business again this year. So I just put down a deposit for a 10-foot sliding table saw. So getting rid of your standard saw stop cabinet saw
Yeah.
and bringing
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the slide, which will be a tool that's going to last me 20 plus years, but it's going to bring a lot more efficiency and higher quality uh, into the shop as well. So
Cool.
it's kind of
Very
the
cool.
main stuff.
Awesome. All right. So this is a part of the podcast where I give you any marketing or business advice. Is there anything that you need help with, that I can help you with?
Um, I mean, the main thing for me right now would be it's hard to say. I've honestly found like the best marketing for me is old school, and that's cold calling and cold emailing, and just creating a connection with interior designers that way. I've that's so I've gone our the routes that a lot of people have gone in these days, which is a lot of social media marketing and so on. I've done some magazine ads in local interior design and home type magazines. But in all honesty, the best thing that's helped me is that old fashioned cold calling and cold emailing and making a connection.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe one thing you can give me some advice on is I'm attending my first major trade show coming up this January. It's the Interior Design Show in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's something that, you know, I want to go and make really good connections with interior designers. Interior designers come from all over Canada and the US into this spot. Um, and so, any insight you would have on doing trade shows and creating connections would be awesome.
So, if you were for if you're gonna really make an impact on the trade show and the amount of people that are there, the biggest thing, honestly, is to do the work beforehand, before the event. So, getting a good list of all of the attendees, that's one. Two is friending them all on Instagram
Yeah,
and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Comment on their stuff. I would also be prepared to have a one sheet of just stuff that you've done with other designers, like other custom pieces. Just do like the best stuff on like a one pager.
right.
And I would title it like um, the interior designer's secret weapon,
Okay,
right? And then put Pompous Fox Wood Co. And then and then just say, contact me now for, just to brainstorm ideas or what have you. And then, but that's the way, and see which one, based off of the DMs and the texts and whoever, see which ones are the most receptive.
right.
Because by the time you've contacted them, you DM'd them, you've done all of those sorts of things, whoever is the most receptive, then before the event, I would, how many days is the trade show?
So it would be a 5 day event in total.
So I would schedule time in your calendar to do breakfast or dinner or drinks with certain people.
Right.
And if you want to get even more sort of ninja about it, uh, I would host my own event, like
Okay.
your own happy hour just for designers, uh, and other partners.
Right.
But that's what I would do first. I would find out the list, and then I'd find out the list. I would friend them on Facebook, friend them on Instagram, friend them on LinkedIn, have it slide into their DMs, send them a one sheet, say, hey, I heard you're going to be here at this time. Awesome. Here's some more info on me. If you want to get more personal, send a voice note or video note from yourself in your shop. See, because you actually don't need that many new designers to grow your business,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
So what you want to do is to see who communicates the way you communicate. And don't try to chase everybody. And then you solidify the relationship at the event.
Right.
That's what I would do.
Okay. Well, that's really good advice.
That helpful?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's something I would definitely do. Awesome, man. Well, tell everybody your Instagram and your Facebook and your website so they could follow your work.
Yeah, so website is just pompousfoxwoodco.com. There's links to all our social media channels in there. But if you look up just Pompous Fox, pretty much on any platform, you'll find us. We do have a YouTube channel, but nothing is there yet.
Okay.
There is thoughts of brewing in the head for content to come. So if you subscribe now, you'll see some of the first videos coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam,
Well, thank
for
you.
your time. And I look forward to sharing your story with the Woodpreneur community. It's super inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.